SeatGeek is the easiest way to find the best deals on tickets to pretty much any live event. Concerts, sports, theater, comedy, whatever you want. Download the SeatGeek app today and enter promo code SEATS to save $20 on your first purchase.
Welcome back to the Sports Beat KC podcast. This is Jesse Newell, KUB reporter for the Kansas City Star. I'm joined once again this week by CJ Moore of The Athletic and Bleacher Report. CJ, how's your week going?
Jesse, what's going on, man? Finally got my plumbing issue fixed.
I'm so happy. That's good.
Couple $1,000s later.
Oh, yeah. Welcome to 30s life for sure.
Yeah, not fun. But hey, basketball. Let's talk it.
I say we will in 1 second.
I just wanted to give those listeners that are worried. I know, sitting at home worried about my plumbing.
They were waiting on the edge of their toilet seat to hear you and finish that story. Yeah, I guess here's my question for you now. The bowl that is currently under my toilet that is catching the slow leak. For $2,000, do I just leave that bowl there? Is that basically what you're telling me?
Oh, catching a slow leak. Oh man, I don't know, because the slow leak probably eventually becomes a bigger leak. I just hope for your sake they don't have to drill a hole into your floor to get to the problem. Yeah, my fix isn't done yet because now I've got to redo a bathroom and redo a laundry room with tile, and yeah, it's not fun. So.
Well. Good luck to you, CJ. That's all I have to say to you. Good luck. But you're correct. This is a basketball podcast, so we will talk about more pleasant topics here, especially when it comes to KU basketball and KU basketball fans' viewing of it, because the Jayhawks are 18-4, 7-2 in Big 12 conference play, have a one-game lead over the rest of the teams, and also got a huge victory on Monday over Kansas State, 70-56. CJ, let's just start with that game. I guess what stood out to you most about the Jayhawks and their performance against the Wildcats, and I guess what do you think it means for this team moving forward?
I don't know if it means a whole ton moving forward. I mean, it was a good win. The thing that was stands out to me is Bill Self went zone for a long time.
Yeah.
And I think coming out in the second half, they came back out in man, and then I believe there was foul trouble again that basically forced his hand to go back to it. But his willingness to go back to it, I think, played a big part in them winning that game. And I thought they did pretty good job in it, considering that's something they barely ever do. And that if you can hear in the background, there's groaning from my dad, who is helping redo that bathroom right now. So if you hear a man pain noises, I think he probably just heard us. He probably just pulled a disc in his back right now. Who knows? But yeah. So anyway, God bless Kurt Moore. The zone was impressive to me because it's not something they've done a lot, not something they probably practice a lot, and I thought they were pretty disciplined in it. And I thought it was a good defense to play against Kansas State because that team is so dependent on two guys, Barry Brown and Dean Wade. And I thought it allowed them to kind of identify those guys, find those guys, and make other guys beat them. And I know you wrote a story about K-State not shooting the ball well from the perimeter that game. I think part of that had to do with the wrong guys taking the shots. So I thought the zone was smart, and it was, usually you wait for Bill Self to throw out his kind of curveballs in the NCAA tournament, and here he was throwing it out a little earlier, in a conference game. But, it's not surprising considering their depth issues and things like that. And I think in the NCAA tournament, you could maybe see some wild things from him, considering the roster constraints and, considering we've talked about it the last time he kind of had a thin bench like this was 2012, and that's one of the year he probably got more gimmicky in the NCAA tournament than ever before.
Yeah, a little triangle and two action there against North Carolina in that game. No, I agree with you, CJ. I mean, I did write about this and how KU allowed, basically from Synergy's log, 17 spot-up open three-pointers to Kansas State in that game, and Kansas State made 4 of them. And so you're correct. There are certain things you can do to scheme, and kind of the point I made, too, is that Bill Self can put that zone out there, and if K-State hits its first 2 threes in the zone, against the zone, Bill Self probably calls timeout and goes back to man defense. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like he's stuck and has to play that zone no matter what. What ended up happening was K-State missed a couple, was not confident against the zone, and then that kind of fed on itself, it seemed like, and the Wildcats continued to miss shots. I guess my main point was it's kind of you're playing on the razor's edge when you're playing that way. You know what I mean? Like, what happens in that game is not really up to Kansas anymore. It's kind of up to K-State. And the Wildcats a couple weeks earlier, or a couple games earlier against Baylor, really had roasted Baylor's zone, made 7 of 8 3-point shots, I think, to start off against it, made Baylor come out of its set. And so, for me, the bigger concern moving forward is just kind of like, you're right. I thought the rotations were pretty decent for KU in that 3-point defense, the 2-3 zone. They were getting out to shooters. They were getting out to the wings, that sort of thing, making it very difficult. Having said all that, if you just look at those screenshots that I posted in that story, there were, 14 of those 17 threes were open. Like 3 of them sort of guys are in the area, but like 14 of them are wide open. And if K-State makes 1 or 2 more, which you probably would still expect, this becomes a different game or a different narrative that goes along with this game. And so again, Kansas, there are certain ways you can play that. There are certain guys sometimes, hey, you don't have to guard this guy on the perimeter. It's just becoming less and less in today's game because we see so many 4s and 5s now shoot 3s. Dean Wade's a perfect example, and he was roasting KU. That was a big reason why Bill Self decided to go to the 2-3 zone. I guess my main point is Big 12 opponents have hit 29% of their threes against Kansas. The next lowest team in the Big 12 is at 33%. You'd be a fool if you bet anything below 33% for KU's defense the rest of the year. So the Jayhawks are going to have to find a different way to be better defensively because right now they get credit for what's happened and the reality that's happened, but it's not something you should project moving forward.
Now, forgive me with the screenshot. I guess I could pull it up right now, but I read that on my phone this morning, so it wasn't able to really study that picture that well. How many of those stills, those spot up threes, open spot up threes that were missed were taken by Dean Wade?
Not many of them. He actually had 2. Here, let me pull it up really quickly on here. But the interesting about it, he hit 2 of those open threes out of the 4.
That was against man though. I think. I don't think they gave him many good looks against that zone.
Well, and again, that's part of what you were talking about is trying to scheme the way to get it. And you're right. The looks I looked at on here were all combined with the zone and the man. Looking quickly, I can see he's on 1, 2. He at least took 1 of these threes against the zone, but it looks like maybe only 1. But he definitely
did. He make it or miss it?
I think he missed that one. But that was the one against the zone. But the other 2 were against man. And Bill Self said it. The main reason they went to zone in that game is because KU couldn't stop Dean Wade. Couldn't stop him in the opener. I'm sure they tried to come up with some sort of game plan to stop him in the second game, but it's difficult because, the perfect guy to guard Dean Wade would be somebody like Perry Ellis because Dean Wade is sort of like Perry Ellis. You know what I mean? Like, he has great footwork inside. He can hit the mid-range. He can step out and shoot a 3. KU doesn't have a 4, really. They have Mitch Lightfoot, but he's the backup big that has to come in when Udoka gets in foul trouble. So if you put in Svi, he's too small. If you put Udoka on him, he's too slow. And so that's a really difficult matchup for KU is that scoring 4. We kind of talked about this going into the season, like the Reed Travis type, even though he didn't have a big game against Kansas. That could be a matchup problem against KU on one end, even if the Jayhawks could take advantage of it on the other end. But I get your point. Yes, I agree with you that trying to get Dean Wade out of his game was the main thing the zone was trying to do. I guess all I'm saying is they still allowed a lot of open threes. And so this narrative could have been very different just based on K-State making more threes than it did, and K-State came into the game as the top 3-point shooting team in Big 12 play. It just didn't happen on Monday night.
Yeah, no, it's a good point, and yeah, KU was fortunate they shot the ball that K-State shot the ball the way they did. I do think that they did some things with their getting the wrong guys to shoot the ball for K-State. I do think played a part in that. But there's definitely some credence with where you're going with that. But yeah, it was a good win, and here we sit going into February, and this down KU down year, and like let's not kid ourselves. Like, it's still, even though they're playing well and they're doing well, like it's still probably a little bit of a down year for KU, and that down year for KU, if you look at like bracketologies right now, I'm pretty sure isn't KU on the one line.
On some of them, yeah, and the big thing is if you look at those team sheets that are now available at NCAA.com, those quadrant 1 victories that they always talk about, the top 50 RPI teams. Now, they can say that Ken Palms and the BPIs are all on the sheet now, which is correct. They're stuck up at the top in one corner, and like 7.5 fonts, so you can barely see them. So they're on the team sheets. It's an improvement, but the whole thing is still the RPI. But KU is racking up those Quadrant 1 wins, and so it's going to be very difficult for any committee member who knows that that's kind of what you're supposed to take into account when you're seeding teams to overlook that for Kansas and say, hey, this team doesn't deserve at least a top 2 seed and probably be at least in consideration on the number 1 line.
And some of those wins and losses are starting to look a little better, like Nebraska's looking like a better win because Nebraska's doing pretty well. Stanford no longer looks like a garbage fire. Like they've cooled off a little bit lately, but they were doing really, really well in the Pac-12. Washington's going to be a bubble team and is hanging in there and doing pretty well in the Pac-12. Arizona State's really fallen off, but Arizona State was kind of doing to everybody what they did to Kansas early in the season. So, I don't think there's not a bad loss really on the resume now that Washington is somewhat relevant, and in the Big 12 you're getting plenty of chances to stack up those wins. So it's pretty crazy, but it kind of made me think as I was thinking this week about the pod and about KU. Okay, so this is your down year for KU and Self, and they're currently projected to be on the 1 line. And, I thought back to the Roy Williams era when they were always pretty darn good and always pretty consistent. And Roy's continued that at Carolina, but he has his down years. He has his Eric Chenoweth and Kenny Gregory years, the late 90s. And
Ryan Robertson is the best player.
Yeah. And, hey, easy, because that's my mom's favorite player of all time.
Okay.
So
I'm taking it easy.
She doesn't listen to the pod, I'm pretty confident, but if she did, she'd come at you.
By the way, Ryan Robertson roasted me on Twitter the other day. So
he did?
I hear from Gary Bedore, he's the nicest man in the world, but, roasted me on Twitter saying...
What did he roast you for?
I have to go back and look at it, but it was something like...
something about numbers?
Yeah, well, no, it was the West Virginia game. I said that KU was trying to win a bar fight, and that's what West Virginia wants to do. And then, he did the wait 2 hours until the game results is finished up and then called me out for a dumb comment, which... It's a common Twitter move, but it's one that Ryan Robertson pulled off.
That's funny. Yeah, but Carolina, for instance, this year, they won the title last year, but I mean KU could have easily won the title last year too. They had a team good enough to win the title, basically. And Carolina now is 5-5 in the ACC the year after, and Self just doesn't have those years. And, for Carolina, Luke May is their best player. This year at least has been. I mean, Joel Berry is probably their best player, but Luke May is they've been their best guy. I mean, it's kind of when Eric Chenoweth is your best guy. Carolina fans should be really, really scared that Luke May goes to a bunch of Dave Matthews Band concerts this summer probably.
Oh boy.
but yeah, I mean Carolina, that program's not maybe looking the best over this year and going forward, but Self seems to. I think part of it's recruiting. He doesn't have many down years where Roy kind of would have those off years, and we talked a little bit about this off air, Jesse. He'd miss on some guys and they would stick around, where when KU's missed on some guys, they haven't necessarily stuck around. They've been able to kind of overturn the roster a little quicker. So, but it is pretty, speaks to just the amazing consistency that here we've been kind of talking all year about. KU's a little down and they've got this issue and they've got that issue, and we sit here entering February and they're on the 1 line.
I'm going to come to Carolina's defense here so that we can come back to this February 2nd podcast when Carolina's in the Final Four in a month and a half. But, I mean, you said 5-5 in ACC play, and that's correct, but let's get our calculators out and our pocket protectors.
Look at this.
Look at this. Let me read you their losses, okay? At Florida State, which is a game I watched, 81-80, a game they were in. Okay, they lost at Virginia. Everyone's lost
Everybody
at Virginia.
does, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
At Virginia Tech by 11. Okay, mark that one up. That's a bad loss. Okay. Home against North Carolina State is a bad loss, but in overtime again. And then at Clemson. Okay, so I mean,
Clemson's missing their second best player.
I'm still at Clemson is.
It's not terrible.
Would you say Clemson is better?
They're not bad. They're still going to make the tournament, but
your point stands.
Roy has missed the tournament
Look, the down year for Bill Self for Bill Self is in the conversation for a 1 seed. A down year for Roy Williams was
it's like on the 8-9
that
line.
2000 team. That's 8-9 line. Ryan Robertson is your best player. That's a little bit different. You know what I mean? So
hey, I mean, Roy did an incredible job. I made the argument in a column a few months ago that Roy has been like the best coach in the current era when you add in March success, regular season success. I mean, the guy's done incredible. So I'm just like comparing to kind of using him as a benchmark to show you like the consistency Self had. I mean, I think it gets overlooked sometimes. I know around Kansas it doesn't, and the Big 12 streak is very appreciated. But even with Kansas fans, probably a little bit, lose sight of how like amazing this consistency is. And this team right here is like a good example to show you when it's a quote unquote maybe a down year, like he still figures out a way to make it a pretty good year. So that was kind of my bigger point. Not to dump on Roy, because I think Roy is a pretty incredible coach.
3 titles too for Roy, which has been all since he left Kansas, but that's an important accomplishment as well. I think this is your point with KU fans. So I tweeted this out yesterday. Since January 3rd, the Big 12 home teams are 31-5 in Big 12 play. Okay. In that time, since January 3rd, KU has 3 Big 12 road wins, and the rest of the conference, all 9 teams combined, have 2 road wins. Okay?
There you go.
So I tweet that out. It's an amazing stat. It's why Kansas wins the league every year. They have a good home court advantage, but they also take care of business on the road. You've written about that, CJ. I know you talk about that a lot. But I write that, and about half the people tell me on there, oh, my gosh, that's a crazy stat. Love this stat, all that stuff. And the other half of KU fans, can you guess what they said?
Yeah, but there's home losses.
Well, you're close. Yeah, but it should be 4 road wins. They should have beat Oklahoma too. And it's just like, guys, they have 60% of the road Big 12 victory since January 3rd. But for Kansas fans, it's like, well, why don't they have 67%? You know what I mean? Like, they blew that one other game. It's like, but that's what I'm talking about with the expectations, how they get out of control, they get out of whack. I mean, every game is supposed to be a victory for Kansas. That's not how it works in college basketball. That's not how it works with other programs. But for KU fans, it's like, oh, KU has 3 Big 12 road wins. That's nice. Should have had 4. They blew that game against Oklahoma. You know what I mean? So that's the kind of thing you're talking about. Also, something fascinating I wanted to bring up with you, CJ. I believe it was fake James Naismith. I don't know if you saw this on Twitter last week. This shocked me just because, growing up around these parts and being, around this program for so long. Last week was the day when Bill Self officially surpassed Roy Williams in terms of days as Kansas coach. Does that shock you, or what do you? I mean, is that kind of amazing to think? Because, like, again, for you and me, the whole childhood basically was Roy Williams as Kansas's coach, and now to think that someone my age, that's a kid, or that was my age back then, their whole life, Bill Self has become Roy Williams. I mean, isn't that kind of amazing?
Oh, it just makes me feel old.
Listen, you have a hole in your bathroom that you had to get fixed for $2,000. That didn't make you feel old already?
That should have made me feel old too. Yeah. No, I came into watching like basketball, college basketball, Kansas basketball during the 90-91 season is like my first season of memory. So yeah, that basically my whole childhood was Roy, and that does make me feel old.
That's good. Now you feel old. Yeah. Well, yeah, it is fascinating, and again, impressive what Bill Self has done at Kansas. Obviously, the consistency that you're talking about is what he does best. I mean, we can talk about the NCAA tournaments, and maybe they've underperformed seeds and haven't been as good, especially in Elite Eight games. That all is true, but the consistency year to year, regular season titles, and getting 1 and 2 seeds, that's definitely what Bill Self has built his career upon. All right, let's go real quickly. I got a podcast question over email from Ross Fortier, so I appreciate him doing that. And anybody else out there who's listening, if you want to send it through email, that's totally fine. I also have a Facebook page, Jesse Newell Sports Report, if you want to send it that way too. But I know there's some people out there that don't use Twitter. I envy you most of the time because that thing can be addictive and sometimes not bring out the best in all of us. But here is his question. He says, I have never been a big fan of taking much stock in bracketology that seems to be on every site these days. I look at them out of curiosity and to humor myself. Outside of the top 1 to 2 lines, not much seems to be accurate to me. Not to mention that so much can still happen and change. That being said, I've seen KU slated in the West region in multiple brackets. That seems a little bit surprising, generally because KU is in the Midwest. I guess at this point, Purdue deserves the top line in the Midwest, Villanova in the East, Virginia in the South. So that kind of leaves the West open. It seems that a lot of brackets either give KU the second seed in the Midwest or the 1 seed in the West. So the question is this: do you think KU would prefer the higher seed in a region that took them to Los Angeles, or stay in the Midwest and potentially play in Omaha as a 2 seed? He says he lives in Southern California, so he's not complaining about the possibility of the Sweet 16 Elite 8 in LA, but just wondered what he thinks that we think would be the better road for Kansas.
Yeah, that's a good question. I do think he's probably right that, or the bracketologist guys, which I'm not a huge bracketology person myself. I just kind of like to not spend my time looking at those over and over again, which sucks because this time of year when you start to do, when radio even picks up even more, is like that's what people are asking you all the time.
That's what they're talking about. It's what people are talking about.
You have to look at it a little bit just to kind of have a familiarity with it. But I'm just kind of like I like to wait to open my Christmas present on Christmas Day.
That's true.
But I think Kansas. Sometimes I think it depends on the year. But I'll answer it like this. Because we're coming off the year where I think that Kansas playing in Kansas City wasn't the most positive thing for that team, at least in the Elite Eight game. I correct me if you think I'm wrong, Jesse, but I thought the nervous energy of the Sprint Center got to KU a little bit and increased their nervous energy in that game. Would you say that was the case?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. You're taking the words out of my mouth. The statistical side of me here says you want to play in Omaha. That's going to get you a call or two. It's going to get you 1 to 2 points. If you know you're Kansas and you want to win that game, you want to put that 1 to 2 points in the bank and take every single edge you can get. Psychologically, I think KU playing out west might be something that would be welcome for this team. And you kind of remember also back, again, this is dating us as well, but you remember back to the Roy Williams team, the last one, 2003, where that team goes out west. And again, I know this is anecdotal, of course, because the year before they went out west and lost to UCLA in what was a quasi-home game for UCLA. But, that team kind of was able to limit distractions and take.
Are you saying the 2008 team? You said 2003.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, I got the two eras mixed up there. Yes, KU lost to UCLA in 2007 with Bill Self. Yeah. 2003, KU went out with Arizona and Duke and took down two teams that were very highly thought of and were able to get out of there. I don't think that would be a bad thing, honestly, for this team. And again, we're talking anecdotal. This is not something I normally go way too far into, but this team has played pretty well on the road. I mean, this team has played pretty well when it's kind of had that bunker mentality. So I'm not sure that would be the wisest move because, again, you're probably going to get a point or two when playing in Omaha with a home crowd that's going to get in the officials' heads, get you a call or two extra. That's probably going to happen. But just as far as this particular team's DNA goes and seeing how this team has performed in quasi-home games in the Elite Eight in the past few years, I don't think it would be the most horrible thing for them to go out west. If that was the 1 seed and that's what they had to do, I think Bill Self would take that and run with it.
And here would be my other thing is, like, I think matchups are the number one most important thing, even more so than where you're playing the games. So I just pulled up ESPN's bracketology because that's what comes up on Google first. So that's the one I'm going to. I play no favorites. But if you look at their current bracket, yeah, Kansas is out west, and man, it's like a dream bracket, I would say, for the Jayhawks because, all right, so Purdue's number 2 is Duke. KU's number 2 is Xavier. And I like Chris Mack's team. I think they're good, but, man, I would much rather have my 2 be Xavier than Duke. And then their number 3 currently in the West is Clemson, who, like I said, is missing their second-best player. They're probably not going to end up on the 3 line. But for let's say this is the bracket for fun. And the Midwest number 3 is Arizona, who is like a top 5 team in terms of talent. So you have maybe the 2 most talented teams in college basketball in the Midwest, and KU's over here with Ohio State as their 4, Wichita State as their 5, Nevada's the 8, who I would say would be a scary second round game. But anyway, just kind of if that's how it played out, I'm sure Kansas would be like, yep, we're good to go out west. Thank you.
Yeah, it would be a change, but I almost think it would be a welcome change. And there would still be KU fans out there. Like, trust me, KU fans will find their way out west,
sure.
and there are a lot of KU fans out west, as evidenced when they play against Stanford. In that game, there were a lot of KU fans. So KU fans would still make it. It would just maybe be a little bit of a different atmosphere with that, because I agree with you. Like, the nervous energy that comes from playing in front of Kansas City fans is different than there's not as much nervous energy for fans that don't get to see the team play as much. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a little bit different. So I think Bill Self would welcome that if that's what it came down to for this team. Let's get to
Jesse, I might not welcome it, though, because I've already been slated for the Omaha regional, and, just I could kind of be sad my buddy Jesse not there.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure that would be the saddest part. You actually probably would celebrate, and then you could get all these, pickup basketball games going, and not have to worry about, God, do I have to invite Jesse to bring down the game? You know what I mean?
Never pick up games till the Final Four, my friend. So you got to get the Jayhawks to the Final Four to join in on those.
I don't know if you know this, but I really have no impact on that. None.
Jesse, I thought you decide a lot of these things. I mean, you're writing that inspires them. I mean, look at how much KU is shooting the 3-ball right now. You don't think you have an influence?
That has nothing to do with them having 4 amazing 3-point shooters, I'm sure. Nothing to do with that. All right, let's get to a few more of these. Jeffrey, JBE741. We will mention him later in the podcast. Remind me to do that, CJ. Quick all Big 12 team status check as we sit here today. Who makes it? Give me your all Big 12 team, CJ.
All right, let me. Do you want me to go first?
Go.
Or you want to go first? All right, so Trae Young is definitely on there.
Yes.
Keenan Evans is definitely on there. Javon Carter's probably on there, but if West Virginia falls off, that's maybe not the given that you would think, but you probably have him on there. Then it gets a little tricky. Like, right now, I'm putting Devontae Graham on there, but there's another Jayhawk that might push him off that team.
And does this person have a moniker that is related to a certain deity out there?
He does. Wouldn't you agree? He's pushing him? It's getting close.
Yeah.
It's a conversation.
I think the narrative is going to keep Devontae as the top guy in these all-conference teams, but I know what you're saying. So, yeah, I think there's a chance that Cezus could move his way up. A chance. Not a good one, but a chance.
Yeah, and then right now for me, it's pick your Kansas State Wildcat on the 5th spot. I'd probably lean. It's really, really hard. Maybe I would lean. I'd probably lean Dean Wade right now, but Barry Brown's really close. So that would be my team. What do you say, Jesse?
Yeah, I think you basically got most of them down. I mean, the only question mark, I think, just going a quick glance on these teams would be Mo Bamba and what he can do defensively, and obviously the reputation that he's getting for blocking shots. Now, offensively, he's still work in progress, and he hasn't had the same type of defensive impact against every team, but you could definitely...
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to say, you could definitely see him getting on that team just based off reputation alone.
But record matters to me, and the fact that team has a losing record. Like, I'm not putting anybody on my Big 12 team that has a losing record on the first team Big 12 team.
You think that has something to do with Mo Bamba, that they have a losing record?
Not necessarily, but...
So you're penalizing him for something that's totally arbitrary.
He has an influence on that record. He's their best player.
See, you're like a Miguel Cabrera lover, Mike Trout hater. You're like, the Angels can't win with Mike Trout.
Okay, there's how many guys? There's 9 guys on a baseball field. There's 5 on a basketball court, and you can influence a basketball game as one player much more so than you can as a baseball player. That's a terrible comparison.
Where would Texas be in the Big Ten? Where would their ranking be? Would they be top half would they have a 500 record in the Big Ten?
Yeah, probably so.
Okay,
but
so he could be on the
Texas
Big.
doesn't play in the Big Ten.
So
They
he could
play in the Big
Well,
12.
that has nothing to do with him though. So he could be on the All Big Ten team playing the exact same way he's playing now because his team is playing a different strength of schedule because the Big 12 is tougher than the Big 10.
Well, the players aren't as good, so yeah, he could be.
You know what I'm saying,
Like,
CJ. You know you're wrong here.
Who's he gonna knock off?
You know you're wrong here.
No, I'm not wrong. Like I think you can put him in the conversation if they finish above. If they finished 9-9, I'd even. I'll even consider them if they're close to 500.
I'm just making you question your
now,
arbitrary rules here. I'm just making you question them.
All right, I'm just saying who are you taking off that team to put Obama on there?
I mean, the problem is this: the Dean Wade that is playing right now is not the Dean Wade that's happened all season. You know what I mean? So like, I like your Dean Wade.
Yeah, but I put more influence on conference games.
Okay,
for
that's
all
fair
Big
enough.
12 teams.
That's fair enough. Okay, I mean, Bomba's kind of come on as of late, but I would say that Dean Wade's probably the guy that it's between Dean Wade and Mo Bamba, but I think your point is solid that this looks like a 4-guard team, like most of the teams are in the league. I think
Javon Carter could end up falling off there if West Virginia really falls off, which I think they're going to come. They'll probably figure it out. Speaking of West Virginia, though, this is the reason why I'm always really, really. Now I'm saying this now, so it probably doesn't hold as much water as it. I should probably pick another time to say this.
Yeah,
but,
since they've lost 5 of 6. Yeah. Go ahead, say what you're going to say, CJ.
The reason I am always you always sense a hesitancy in my voice to consider West Virginia as a serious contender to win the league. Would you say that's fair or no?
Yeah, no, that's fair.
I always have a little hesitancy with West Virginia. And you know why? Because eventually shot selection catches up to you. And too many times, it's not just this year, but there's too many times through the years where they just take a lot of bad shots. And I think, that's one of the beauties of Bill Self as a coach. Like, his teams have really, really, really good shot selection. And, even this year when they're playing, like we had the question last week where
I think let me say this right now. I think this year's team has the best shot selection of any team he's ever had.
The Marcus Morris, I love that Marcus Morris offense.
Here we go again.
Tyrell Reed and Ray Morningside, those dudes were taking bad shots.
If we're going by the lowest amount of mid-range attempts, this team definitely takes the cake.
Okay, fair enough. But all his teams always take really, really good shots. My point was, the guy last week asking, is this team taking too many quick threes? No, I think with the quick threes they take, I think are good looks. So I think shot discipline is always a strength of Bill Self's teams. It's not a strength of Bob Halligan's teams. And, that's why I think offensively they go through these spurts where they don't play great. Obviously talent influences that, and Kansas usually has better talent, but West Virginia is not always running the best stuff. And I think that's why I'm always hesitant to feel like West Virginia is a serious contender to win the league, because I think too many times their offense is going to hurt them in too many games, and they're always going to be up near the top because of Huggins is a really good coach and he's a really good defensive coach, but offensively I think they're like, what are they, 30th in adjusted efficiency, so they're not terrible. But I do think their shot selection leaves something to be desired sometimes. Let's go ahead and name a second team, Big 12 team, just real quick. It's for fun.
Well, and real quick, Ryan Robertson. Exactly what you were talking about is the point I was trying to make with my tweet, which is KU playing West Virginia. West Virginia is the team with no skill. Like, they're trying to out-muscle you, out-tough you, out-foul you. You know what I mean? KU is the pretty team this year. Like, it's got to go shoot threes. It's got to get up there and not hunt for the perfect shot, but get the threes up. KU is more skilled than West Virginia, so in that type of game, you've got to go be more skilled, and we saw that from KU finally in the second half when they made 3 straight threes and got themselves back in the game. Okay, Big 12 second team. I guess, well, if we're going based off your team, Bamba is on the list. Yes?
Yeah, but Bamba and Barry Brown.
Are you going to put Udoka or Svi?
Yeah. Udoka and Svi.
Well, what about
and
Brodzianski?
Nah. Let me think real quick here.
Fisher had an argument before he went down, but obviously he's out now.
Yeah.
You missing anybody from Iowa State? I
don't think there's
Donovan
anybody from
Jackson?
Tech. I don't. No, I
Jeffrey
mean Iowa State.
Carroll?
You could
No.
Lindell Winnington's doing pretty damn well recently. I think Nick Waller-Babs had a really good year, but I do think Iowa State is maybe that team that kind of of those bottom three. I've kind of liked their roster better than those other bottom three, and
Do you consider?
I do think they might be the best of that like last three bunch.
And do you consider Konate?
Kerwin Roach might get into consideration. He's been doing pretty well. Sure, we could go with. I mean, Konate might. Let's pull up TCU stats real quick.
Brodzianski.
You think he's the guy?
He's Mr. Efficiency. I'm just saying. Bad defense, Mr. Efficiency. He's tough to guard off the roll
So
on pick and rolls.
Do you want the best shot blocker in the league, or do we want?
Well, the best shot blocker in the league is Bamba. I don't care what Konate's numbers say. So
I don't know. Let's see what the Big 12 numbers say, Jesse. Here,
I don't care what the big numbers say. I don't care.
Let's see what Konate is. He is second in. I'm guessing he's second in to Bamba.
Who would be first?
He's probably second to Bamba. Man, that last spot is tough. We'll say.
Well, you could put two Jayhawks on it. So let's go with your original five.
We did.
So Bamba, Svi, Udoka,
and Barry Brown,
and then
that fifth spot's tough.
Probably either Konate or.
You could even also. You know what? You could also consider Manuel Lecomte. Like even though Baylor's.
Oh yeah,
really
Lecomte.
Not very good.
See, that would be my ruling, which is like, hey, I don't care if you're on a bad team. That's not all your fault. Yeah, no,
All right, let's go
with Lecomte.
Go ahead and throw it. Let's put Manu on there.
Yeah,
let's
put Lecomte over Lecomte. I like Brodzianski, but let's put Lecomte over him. He's more solid on both ends.
Yeah.
All
So that's our current second Big 12 team. So anyway, all right. What's next?
Nothing. We're gonna go lightning round here with these very quickly. From Patrick Sheehan said, "How many people are more valuable to KU athletics than Andrea Hootie? The list has to be short. It's a difficult question to answer. Kind of weigh people against each other, but with the way she is ahead of kind of the science and the industry and doing things at KU that other programs are just kind of catching up to, I'd say she's pretty important. I mean, I don't know where to rank that, but would you agree with all those things I just said, CJ?
Yeah, and I think that the guy you point to more so than any other on this roster that her value is probably very valuable is Udoka Azubuike.
Yeah.
I mean, I've talked about what I saw of him when he was in high school. I think they've done a lot with, and she's done a lot with his body and his quickness. So, yep, she's pretty valuable. That's you won't hear us not say that. So
yeah, the analytics people will not talk down on Andrea Hootie, that's for sure. Dan Fagan, which upcoming game seems to be the biggest trap for KU moving forward? Let me just read off the schedule here, CJ, quickly. Home against Oklahoma State, home against TCU, at Baylor, at Iowa State, home against West Virginia, home against Oklahoma. So out of those six, do you have one that kind of looks like that to you?
I'd say the two tricky ones that might not jump out to people. I think home against TCU. I still think TCU is, they're really, really good offensively. They could jump up and surprise you. And then at Iowa State, it's always going to be tough. You went all the way 6 games. So, I mean, I think those West Virginia, Oklahoma games aren't easy. I think you got to like KU's chances against Oklahoma at home. But, you never know. Trae Young could go for 50 on who knows. And West Virginia, I still think, is always a tough matchup for Kansas because there's something in KU's head. Even though they still won that game, that you're at West Virginia, I think that'll go a long way and help them. But they kind of I think there is a little bit of an intimidation factor by West Virginia's style and just like the way they approach that game. So even when West Virginia's struggling, I think that's always a tough game. So that's probably the toughest of the next 6. But those TCU and Iowa State games, I would circle as 2 that could be tricky.
Yeah, I think you're right. TCU at home, I think, is probably the one I would have picked. And actually, second place at Baylor. Baylor seems to me they've been a team that's just been so bad lately. But again, bad in the Big 12, I think, means something different than bad in another conference. So
I'm always a Baylor defender. I just don't think they're very good this year.
KU's had so much success at Baylor too that it could be kind of one of those tricky games. And again, KU's won a lot of close games there too. It's just can you keep that magic going? I guess we'll see here in a couple weeks. From Joel, he says, really quickly, he says there has to be a better way to quantify offensive efficiency than saying a player got, quote, X points on Y shots. Very misleading to not count free throws as shots. Should we make effective field goal percentage great again? And so, me and you were talking about this one, CJ, before, but that's kind of what the offensive rating is. It kind of takes all those numbers into account. Now, you have to use it with usage percentage. You have to say, okay, his offensive rating was 140 and his usage percentage was 25%, so that's a great night, or because he took on a large offensive load and was an efficient player. But I think that's kind of the heart of what offensive efficiency tries to do, is to take all that stuff into account, make it into one number. That number just isn't quite mainstream yet.
And true shooting percentage as well.
Yeah,
that
factors in free throws.
Yeah, that's probably more fair for just shooting purposes. If you're looking for a way to quantify efficiency without, getting the assists and turnovers into play. But I'll let you take that one, Jesse. That's your baby.
Yeah. That's great. Well, and I wanted to get to some of these on here. We asked people a couple weeks ago to go to the SportsBeat KC podcast and iTunes, rate and review the podcast. We begged you guys to do it because Therese does that with his people, and so there's a lot of We Love Therese on there. And so, like I said, it's great to read comments and see feedback from people. You guys came through. I wanted to read some of these. These are great, CJ. Like, for example, I talked about earlier in the show, one of the guys that went on there and did it, JBE 741. He put, very much enjoyed the excellent KU basketball coverage from Jesse and CJ. They have a fantastic dynamic. The podcasts are informative and thoughtful yet concise. I pretty much read everything KU, and this is the best coverage. So things like that on there, we really appreciate it. I know some of the guys were pretty funny on there and talking about, making fun of us. Like, hey, let me see if there's one right here. Oh, and if you are a stat geek, well, Jesse has you covered by a mile, says Beware Fog on there. Still gave the 5 stars, so I appreciate that. But no, some really good comments on there. We definitely appreciate them. And I know it kind of brought a smile above our faces when we kind of checked back in on that and saw that a bunch of people had come through. So thank you to Krenmeister, to Matty Ice, to Beware Fog, to Chief in the OC, to Jake Jayhawk, to Hey Jay, Jayhawker. All these people went on there and gave a review. And so we definitely appreciate it and would appreciate more if people want to go out there and do that.
Yeah, to be clear, as far as we know, those aren't our moms. So
I only have one mom, so yeah, it's going to be very difficult for her, especially at her age, since I don't think she listens to the podcast, to go make multiple Apple accounts.
Yeah, I don't even think my mom could figure out how to write a podcast review. I don't even know if I could figure it out, but. That was Jesse. You told me to go check those out, and it seeing things like that does make it worth spending. Obviously, I like doing this just because Jesse, I love you, buddy, and and I like talking basketball. Knowing once a week I'm going to talk to Jesse about basketball, so it makes it fun. But going on there and seeing that was really cool, and you shared with me an email an email from a listener that was really really neat too. So thank you guys for doing that. Keep them coming. So Jesse's bosses think that he's good at his job, and just to keep my ego, help stroke my ego a little bit. It's nice.
Yeah, it's always good to fake and fool the bosses. That's what we're all about here. Not doing quality stuff or good content, but just making sure to fool those people that pay us just to keep us so we can keep doing more. Pretty fair.
Yeah. Fair for sure. Yeah, and if you want to, you can tweet at Seth Davis that CJ is awesome and we want more coverage from him at The Athletic. All that helps.
Yeah, we'll definitely take all that we can get. Well, we're going to wrap up the podcast from there. For CJ, this is Jesse. Thanks for checking out the SportsBeat KC podcast, and be sure to tune in for another episode next week.
SeatGeek is the easiest way to find the best deals on tickets to pretty much any live event. Concerts, sports, theater, comedy, whatever you want. Download the SeatGeek app today and enter promo code SEATS to save $20 on your first purchase.